Hey everybody, my name is WretchedBlaze and welcome back to the channel. About 6 months ago I said I got a Steam Deck on order and I was going to do a unboxing video, and I totally didn't do that because I suck at everything I do. I have decided to make a 6 month later review type video. I have had the Steam Deck since about August of 2022. I have thoroughly enjoyed this thing. I have a couple little issues with it, a couple kind of major issues that the community seems to have that don't really affect me, but it could affect you, and tons of good things to say about this thing. So let's jump into it. So first off, we're going to talk about the couple of negative things I have on the Steam Deck here today. Again, it's just a couple of things, and I'll talk about a couple of little nitpicks, and then we'll talk about all the good things after all of that. I am excited to get into this. So the main issue that I hear people having is the battery life on the Steam Deck. The battery life, it all depends on what game you're playing, really, or what you're doing. So if you're playing a highly graphically intense game, your battery life is going to be terrible. I've heard people having an hour of battery on this thing. So in my personal experience, I've had some good battery life. I don't play a whole lot of graphically intense games on this thing. I mostly play like indie games, or I emulate games. But so like God of War, for instance, it's like in 2 hours or something like that. I don't remember. I haven't played God of War in a long time. But I played Minecraft Sky Factory 3 on here, and I was getting like 7 hours out of life. So it just depends on what you're doing. From the community, it seems to be the major problem with this thing is the battery life. I have seen people attach like what's the word I'm looking for? Like battery banks and stuff to the back of here and plugged in to the top, and to get a longer battery. And I've seen awesome. The community is making great things with 3D prints and just workarounds for everything that they have qualms with. Honestly, Steam has already announced that they're working on a Steam Deck 2. I'm pretty dang sure they did. And I'm not entirely sure how they're going to improve the battery life, because you have more power in the next model. It's going to eat up more battery. So you need a bigger battery to compensate. So I feel like the second model of the Steam Deck will probably have the same amount of battery life, but that's just me. Secondly, it's hard to display here via webcam and all that good stuff. People say the screen is not good. I have a couple of pictures I will put up showing some people having major light bleed, and I have some light bleed on here. There seems to be a small quality control issue with these things. I'm not entirely sure if that's what I want to say, but I have seen lots of people have some light bleed. I've seen other decks with basically no light bleed. I have no idea. So it's hard to say. I'm pretty sure might be some quality control issues with this thing. Overall, though, mine has been fantastic. I got a little light bleed on the corners, and that's about it. And I don't notice it unless the screen goes completely black for, let's say, a loading screen. Other than that, though, people say the screen quality is not great, like the picture quality. I don't mind it. It looks good to me. But I mean, if you have like a Switch OLED, you're going to notice a difference. I can tell you that. But for what I use it for what I do, no problems at all. So a small nitpick that I have seen across the communities on Facebook, Reddit, Twitter, there seems to the screens themselves, the glass seems a little fragile. Just a little fragile. Here's a picture of a broken one. And they just dropped their phone on it, as far as is what the post said. They dropped their phone from like here and broke the dang thing. I tried to take care of it. I have dropped this. Well, my wife has dropped it like once or twice. I'm sorry. I have seen some people saying their left bumper doesn't work. I have noticed if I hit mine just right, just soft enough, it doesn't quite register. But when I hit it like a normal player would, it seems to work just fine for me. Who knows? There's lots of reports of it, so it's not a hearsay or you're lying kind of thing. There's lots of reports on people returning these where they're broken LB button. But that brings me into a good point of the Steam Deck. Valve is completely aware and accepting of the right to repair. They have partnered, if you don't know, they have partnered with iFixit, and they have tons of the internals, buttons, screen. I think they have a screen, they have the memory card, they got fans, they got analog sticks, all on the iFixit website. So, and you're free to tinker with it as much as you want. Now, if you replace something, like if you replace the memory card in here, the M2 drive, with a longer one, it could block something or whatever, and it could cause problems down the road. They don't cover that because you replaced it with something that's not supposed to be in there, that they said it's not going to work and it will cause problems. They do work, but they do cause problems, from what I've heard. Overall, though, the right to repair on this thing is incredible. Every company out there should follow along with this. Let's dive into the Steam Deck itself. Here we are at the UI of Steam OS on the Steam Deck. It's a little laggy here and there, but overall it feels good, it looks great, and they're bringing this UI into, or they're basically swapping big picture mode on Steam on the desktop, and they're replacing it with big picture mode of this UI. And I've looked at the beta, I have used the beta of that, and it's great, it's fantastic. The store is my main problem though. The store seems very limited on that. Even on here, it seems kind of limited in a way. I don't have the Ethernet cable plugged in, so kind of a little slow here. Give me just a sec. Okay, sorry about that. I should probably explain first. I don't know how to say this name. JSOX, I believe is how it's said. I have a JSOX dock. So the Steam Deck doesn't have an Ethernet port on it by itself. So I have a dock for that. And you can plug the Ethernet cable. Fantastic. Anyways, so the store is like my main issue personally using the deck. I probably have to reload the store because I plugged in the Ethernet cable. But it's a good store. It works. It's functional. So you have a great on deck section. So like with the green check mark there, it's basically verified that it'll work, and that seems to be kind of up in the air. I've seen some people say they have issues with verified games. Me personally, the only two games that I've had issues with verified are Elden Ring and God of War. In my opinion, again, this is what I think, they don't run well enough to have that green check mark, in my opinion. I know I've gotten flame in the Steam Deck forums and communities for saying such, but 30 FPS and lower is not acceptable for me. I'll dive more into that here in a little bit, but the great on deck section is fantastic if you want to find games that should work straight out of the box. Again, you got Elden Ring, you got Apex, which last I knew Apex has easy anti-cheat, and most of the time easy anti-cheat does not work on the Steam Deck, so you cannot play Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, for example. You can't play Destiny 2 because of their anti-cheat system. So there are some limitations, but overall it's good. It's very good. And then if you go up back to the top here, you have the store home section. So just straight Steam store, it'll show everything that's on the Steam store. And that's great. It's just like using it on the desktop. So nothing wrong in this section at all. I don't see like a most popular section or anything, so that kind of seems like a small issue for me. Not seeing it here, because I like to go list by most popular, but that's just me. Anyhow, the Steam Deck is a fantastic little system, tons of horsepower. Sure, you're running games that I believe the resolution is 1200 by 800, so it's a lower resolution, but it looks great on the screen deck itself, and it upscales your image when you're plugged into a dock, or it doesn't upscale, it swaps to that resolution, so you might get less frame rate and more performance problems if, say, you set it to 1920 by 1080 on your external display. But that's okay. It's not a big deal at all for me. My main use of the Steam Deck is emulation. We have so many opportunities to play amazing games from across several generations, from Atari. I'm playing games from the Wii U to PS3 on this thing. So, and it's easily set up via EmuDeck, and I'll kind of talk about that in a little bit. But one of my main, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but like one of the things that I love about this deck, the Steam Deck, is the ease of emulation. So currently I've been playing Manhunt 2, I have been playing Sims Castaway, because I love Sims 2 Castaway. So this is my PS2 section. My wife loves the Harry Potter games, so I got those on here for her, you know. Like I said, I've been playing, I don't have any PS3 games on here right now, but I was playing The Darkness, which ran okay, nothing I'd really complain about. But the 2 Zelda games for the Wii U, the Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD, I could finally play those because Nintendo refuses to release them on their Switch. But at least I could finally play them. So it shows all my games. You can go to, even your library has a great on deck section, so it makes finding games that should work straight out of the box super easy. And then all games, it'll show games that might not work. Like 7 Days to Die, it works perfectly fine, but it's got, it says it's playable. It says, let's see, it says the game's launcher setup tool may require the touchscreen to use. I don't consider that not a verifiable issue. I mean, I guess if you have it docked, it could be. But if you're using the Steam Deck in handheld mode, that should be a green check mark, because 7 Days to Die runs perfectly fine. Sure, you gotta use the touchscreen every once in a while, but it's right here. You're done. So in the library, it shows you and it details what the problems might be. So like, even, I don't know, I have a lot of games from Humble Bundles. So like 911 Operator, I no idea. Did I play this game? Yeah, I played it for half an hour. But it says it's unsupported. It says Valve is still working on adding support for this game. Games that say unsupported does not mean they will not work. Try games. Try any game you want. Even if it says unsupported, try it. I have played plenty of games that say unsupported on this thing. I don't know if I have any installed at the moment. Doesn't look like I do. Yeah, Dragon Quest Builders 2. That works perfectly fine if you set the Steam Deck to 60 Hz with the 60 frame rate limit. If you don't, it runs kind of shitty. But it works. And it says it's unsupported. I might have another one. Let's see. I don't know if I have any more, but try the games. I've seen plenty of posts in the community saying, oh, this game's unsupported, so I can't play it on the deck. Try it. You never know. It could work. I've only ran into one game that has not worked on the Steam Deck, period. And it's kind of like a guilty pleasure game. I love Two Worlds, the first one. It doesn't work on the deck. Like, I can get it to boot and get in game, but the graphics are completely fucked. Overall, though, that's the only game I've tried that does not work, is Two Worlds. And I have 648 games of what it says here. I mean, of course, your VR games are not going to work. Theoretically, you could plug in, like, say, your Quest 2 into the dock and stream it and play VR games, but it's probably going to run like pure trash. Other than that, though, you have some amazing things in this settings menu. So, you know, you got friends in chat, you have your media for like your screenshots and stuff, a full-blown settings menu with everything you can need. Let's see if I can figure out how to open it. Yeah, here, on the right side here. So if I just move myself over a little bit, you have like a performance menu, you have notifications, your friends list, some quick settings, so like you can turn on airplane mode and stuff real quick if you need to. But the main tab you want this for is the performance tab. This tab is fantastic. I believe, in my opinion, I think every console should have a tab like this that you can adjust these settings on the fly whenever you need to. So like if you want more performance out of a game, you can adjust these settings, and it even has a performance overlay. And I don't know if I could show. I think I can. So if I go down here, show performance, yeah. Excuse me. It even has a full-fledged performance overlay with like the speed of different cores of the APU, your VRAM usage, how much battery you got, and it's a full-blown performance overlay like you would get from, I don't know what the program is, but it's on PC that you see a lot of performance testers use. It doesn't really update on the Steam OS until you go into a game. It doesn't update until you like move the stick or whatever, like actually physically update the screen. You can set your performance modes per game profile. So if you, let's say you're playing, again, we'll just say 7 Days to Die, and you have, it's not quite hitting 60 FPS for you, you can hit use per game profile to change settings just for that game only. Or if you have that unticked, it'll change it system-wide. The main thing that I love about the Steam Deck here is it has a frame rate limit. You can turn it off, you can set it to 60, 30, 15. When it's in handheld mode, you can change your screen refresh rate, the refresh rate of the deck, all the way down to 40 Hertz, and change the frame rate limit to 40, and it's smooth. I don't know how they do it. I'm a stickler for 60 FPS. I have to have 60. I am very sensitive to frame rate fluctuations. I don't know why, but I am. But if I have a game that's like roughly 50 FPS on a constant basis, I come in here and I change it down to 40 Hertz, set the frame rate limit to 40, and it's smooth. It feels good. It's not quite as good as 60, of course, but it's really good. I would play it all day at 40 because the screen refresh rate is set to 40. So you don't get those weird jitters that you do on 60 Hertz or above when the game drops down to 55, 50, whatever. So it feels really good sitting at 40. You can allow screen tearing if you want. These are settings I really don't mess with ever. Half rate shading, thermal power limit. You can manually adjust the GPU clock speeds, and then you have like your scaling factor, so like nearest, integer, or AMD's FSR, and it helps on some games. I don't really use them very much, but I do want to experiment with them a bit more. In here, it'll even tell you your battery capacity, which that's one thing I've seen a lot of people say is like their battery capacity percentages way off. Like they don't make any sense. I've seen people with like 1% battery capacity, but it lasts all day. I've seen people with like 99% battery capacity last an hour, not doing anything. So that is one thing. I hope that they can update that to fix that. Another great thing about the Steam Deck is you can get plugins. You have to do it in desktop mode. I'll show desktop mode in a little bit. But you can get plugins to change things like in the system sense. So I have like a notebook so I can take notes in video games if I need to. Like say I'm playing Myst on my Steam Deck and I need to take a note. I just hit the button, go over here to the notebook, and type out a puzzle situation. We got animation changers, so you can change your boot up screen. You can change like the boot up animation. Change the suspend animation. The throbber is like when it comes back from suspend, I think. It's really cool. You can change, and there's tons of stuff in here. I should probably check out the stream overlay. And one of my favorite things on the plugins tab. Whoops. Hold up. Plugins tab is Vibrant Deck. You can change the contrast rate, the contrast of the screen, to make it look better, and overall I changed mine to these settings and it looks perfect. I have no problems with the screen colors, saturations, gamma, anything like that. Steam Grid DB, absolute must-have for any Steam Deck user that wants to customize their Steam Deck. So you can Steam Grid DB allows you to let's take Daggerfall. Yes, I have Daggerfall Unity running perfectly fine on here. So if I just bring myself back over, with Steam Grid DB, you have the option to change the artwork for all the artwork that Steam uses for a game. So you have your normal capsule, which if I go back, your normal capsule is like these over here. If the wide capsule's this obvious wide one, which is your most recently played one, you can change your hero, which is when you go to a game. I'll show you that here in a second. Your hero is when you go to a game is this background here. You can change that. Whoops, I started Daggerfall. Anyhow, you can change that. You can change your logo. You can change, everything that you need to or want to. So you can customize all your games to make them appear better in your library. So if I go back to my library here and I go to installed, most of these are not stock images that Steam has. I've changed 90% of these. So like Final Fantasy Crisis Core I've changed, the Assassin's Creed one I changed, Dead Space 1, all of that. And it just makes it stand out more. It's more unique in my opinion. As for playing the games, it's like you're playing any other system. You can play with the handheld mode. That's just like a controller, or you can play it with a controller if it's Bluetooth, or I think you can plug it in if you have a dock or a USB to USB-C adapter. You can plug it into the top, play with a wired controller that way. I played Daggerfall with a mouse and keyboard, but I also used the handheld mode because controls. That's my next point I need to make. So if I go into Daggerfall, and I come over here, every system, doesn't matter what it is, Nintendo and Xbox and PlayStation, whatever it is, needs to implement controller settings like Steam does. You can change literally everything about the control scheme on the Steam Deck. So if I want to, so here for Daggerfall, because it doesn't support controller, I have it set up to swap basically the controller buttons to act as the keyboard buttons. So like my right trigger is my right mouse click for like attacking and stuff. I have it set to the left mouse click so I can open doors and talk to people and interact with things. So you can change everything. This layout also has, this is a community layout, by the way. So if I come here, community layouts, there's tons of them for Daggerfall. And they're all different, they're all unique, and most of the time unique. Sometimes people just copy and paste and change little things like I did. Like I changed my map key. If I can go back over. There we go. So I changed, because on the back of the Steam Deck, there's 4 buttons on the back, kind of like your, that's not a good, can't show you very well on that one. But like on your Xbox Elite controllers, they have these back buttons. Steam Deck has those too. Even more customization options. And there's 2 trackpads on here that you use with your thumbs. Tons more customization options you can do there. So the community layout that I'm using for Daggerfall has the left trackpad as like a radial menu. Let's see. Yeah, the creator of this community layout says it's called Evil Menu. Don't know why, but like it's a radial menu, so I can rotate and get different options. So if I go into, let's just dive into Daggerfall real quick. And installing third-party games that are not on Steam is super easy for the most part. So if I move the left trackpad, it'll bring up this radial menu. So I have like my transport button here, I have quick save and quick load set up, my status screen, my character sheet, logbook, and then so you can customize it. You can add tons of options to that to make games that are more mouse and keyboard centric playable with a controller. And that is huge for the Steam Deck. I can't believe, like, I believe they have that on Steam on the desktop, I'm pretty sure it's part of big picture mode. You can change all these controller settings, but it was very smart to implement it the way they did on the Steam Deck. It is incredibly useful and very intuitive and user-friendly for the most part. There's a couple little things that I seem to have issues with, but it's so good. And so even here it has different options for my controller, so I can change the buttons for my controller and have a separate one for the Steam Deck itself if I'm playing in handheld mode. It's incredible, and it plays every game I've played perfectly fine, except for again God of War and Elden Ring. I was not impressed. I know there have been people, I've seen the forum posts, the community posts and all that, people saying that the God of War and Elden Ring, they've played through it, they've 100%ed those games and it's been perfectly fine. I can't do it. I can't do sub 30 FPS. I can't. I'm sorry. So if we exit the game here, so let's jump into desktop mode. So here we are in desktop mode. So in game mode, it uses SteamOS. In desktop mode, it's Linux, and I believe it's Arch Linux, I think. I am severely a noob when it comes to Linux stuff. I can build computers, I can write programs, I'm coding game, like a personal project that I'm doing. I don't understand Linux at all. I spent 3.5-4 hours trying to copy a Windows ISO file to a thumb drive because my main computer was blue screening, so I had to reset my computer and reinstall Windows. It took me 3.5 hours to find a way to find a program that will allow the ISO to be mounted to my USB thumb drive. I mean, yeah, you can just copy the ISO over, but Windows wouldn't detect that it's trying to install something. So you have to do it. It's kind of like Windows Recovery Media, but you have to do that on a Steam Deck. And it took almost 4 hours to figure it out. There's like console commands that I needed to do, and I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that, and it's like asking for a password. I'm like, I don't know the password. It's very confusing. But once you have everything set up the way you need to or want, it's like using a Windows PC to some extent. I know you got your Linux enthusiasts out there that freak the hell out because I said that, but in the general basic user experience, it's kind of like Windows. So I have Chrome installed on here. It's got Steam. You got your Dolphin, which is your file manager, kind of like your Windows file manager, right? So that's good. It's just like your Windows file manager. You have a Discovery, excuse me, which is a software center, so almost like an app store. If there's something that you want, you can look here. If it's not here, you have to go online and find where it might be. You have to use console commands to force it to download. I don't understand it. But for emulation's sake, you're going to want to get EmuDeck. You can download it via your web browser and run EmuDeck. So EmuDeck, it installs all of the emulation software that you'll need, ranging from RetroArch to PS3, Wii U, Xbox 360, PS2, all that good stuff. It installs all that, and it's on the other monitor. Hold on. And can I drag this over, please? There you go. So, hooked up like this, I have the one monitor up here is displaying, and then down here is my Steam Deck on the dock, and it's almost like a dual monitor setup, so I had to bring it over to this one. But EmuDeck, it's simple to install. You hit continue, you hit where you want it to detect where the games are on a micro SD or the internal drive. If you come here after you set it all up, you come here to tools and stuff, and you go to ROM Manager. This is where you go, and it'll download all of the necessary pictures, kind of like SteamGridDB. That's basically what it uses, I'm pretty sure. And it'll get all the pictures that you want for like your non-Steam games, your emulation games, and then it auto adds all of those emulated games, so games from PS2 and whatnot, it adds them automatically into your Steam for you, so you don't have to do that individually going down to add a game, browse for the game, you know, or add non-Steam game. You don't have to browse all that, do them individually. You can mass do them here, and they'll all pop up in their own categories in your library. And again, this is only for the Steam Deck. This won't affect your desktop PC. So if you add games to your Steam library here, they won't show up in your desktop, just so you know. So like, I got Nintendo 3DS games and PS1 games all here. So Steam Grid and EmuDeck, fantastic. You can install the emulators separately through the Dolphin browser or downloading them from your web browser. You can do it that way, but for basic usage, for your beginners or people that don't want to mess with installing individual things, EmuDeck all the way. Just simple as that. And then if you want to get games from your Epic Games library or your GOG library, you can come down into Discovery. I believe I got it from there. You can go find Heroic Game Launcher, and it's a game launcher for both Epic Games Store and GOG. It's not official, just so you know. But it's an installer for both of those. It's like Steam, but for those two game stores. I don't really have a whole lot on those that I use. I did play PC Building Simulator 2 from the Epic Games Store. It's Epic exclusive, and it ran like garbage, so I installed it. Don't know why. I had World of Warcraft on here. I was just messing around with Warcraft Classic. Super simple to install, and it worked just fine. It was great. If you want to go back to gaming mode, you have to click there on the Return to Gaming Mode icon, and you'll go right back to it. There it is. I have a custom boot animation that I absolutely love. It's really cool. And we're back. So that's my kind of like review of the Steam Deck. It plays games perfectly well for me. The screen's good enough for me. The UI is semi-snappy. I would wish it was a little snappier. It does have its moments where it lags out a little bit, but overall it's great. It plays all the games I want. It's a perfect emulation device. There's nothing wrong with it. I absolutely adore it. I got Daggerfall. I've got OpenMW for Morrowind. I have games that I never thought would work on here. You know, so I'm happy to say that the Steam Deck is definitely worth a purchase today. If you want to buy one, I'd recommend getting the 64 gig model and then buying a 1 terabyte M2 drive. They are getting a little pricey because people are buying them up for the Steam Decks. So that's what I did. I installed a 1 terabyte M2 drive in here, and I also have 500 gig or 1 terabyte SSD. I don't remember. But if you go into your settings, you can go down to storage. Yeah, I have a 500 gig SD card, and that's perfectly fine with a 1 terabyte internal. And the other option there was just to install Daggerfall Unity. Easier. So it's a fantastic little system. Get the 64 gig one, upgrade it with a 1 terabyte internal drive, and you'll save money. If you want, if you don't want to tear it apart and replace that, get a 256. If you want a lot more storage, internal storage, and an anti-glare screen, you can get the 512 gig version, but I don't find that worth it in my opinion. That's just me. I bought the 256 and then upgraded to a 1 terabyte drive. I wish I kind of stuck with 64 and then upgraded, because I would have saved like $200 or like 100, 150, somewhere around there. But I'm glad I didn't, because the 64 gig version was sold out longer than the other versions, of course, because it was the cheapest one. But anyways, my friends, I appreciate you so much for checking out this 6-month later review. I have no problems with it at all. It's a fantastic system. I recommend everybody get one that wants one. Is it a Switch killer? No. The Switch has its own place in the gaming ecosystem. But the Steam Deck is a very tough competitor to that. I highly recommend it to everybody. As always, my friends, please hit the like and subscribe. Definitely helps more than you realize. And as always, I'll see each and every one in the next video. Bye for now.